Chapter 44 I and J. Ina was dimly aware of other crabs that were closing in as she stepped in front of the one that had struck at Matt. She tried to make herself look big and intimidating, but with her 5-foot slender frame, the crab was not phased. She gave a few warning jabs in the air. Get back! It wasn't phased. Ina started to activate her chromatophores to make herself harder to see, but the crab didn't seem to have any trouble as a large claw snapped directly towards her. She went into her deep focus for active camouflage and felt her awareness of her appearance within the scene around her expand. She instantly realized what the problem was. Drown it. She was covered in mud. She couldn't control the mud. It didn't matter how well she altered her appearance. It was hidden below a layer of the muck. It would be useless. Ina started to get nervous. She glanced back and saw Jessica had progressed further onto the drier dirt that would eventually lead to the beach. That left her alone, which meant there was one other card that she could risk playing. It wouldn't be as effective as underwater, but she was pretty sure it would still have an impact on the crabs. A second crab moved next to the first, with a third close behind. Ina started backing up as they advanced to bring their claws into range. She took a deep breath. The same feeling she had tried to use to intimidate the crab with her body, she instead channeled into her vocal cords. A piercing, dissonant note blasted out, surprisingly loud from her small frame, like a banshee's wail. She channeled fear into it as it swept over the crabs. The lead crabs all paused and started clicking. As the burst of sound ended, Ina took a deep breath to replenish her oxygen. She eyed the crabs. Did it work? Then the lead crab stopped making the clicking noise and took a tentative step forward. Ina scowled at it and took another deep breath while stepping towards it, brandishing her obsidian edge. Flee! She let out another discordant burst that picked up as she elongated the end of the word into another wail. Brennan's continuous humming was by design meant to calm the bees and not necessarily annoying Manu. It was just something that became part of the background. Apparently, without fresh water for the flowers, they wouldn't make more jelly, which meant the bees were getting more hungry, which meant they were still pissed. Yes, my babies. Sleep, sleep. Brennan had been slightly altering the pitch and timbre of it over the last day, and as Manu watched, the bees had started to land on the flowers and curl up against each other in a small bee ball. After a few minutes, Brennan let the humming fade and carefully eyed the bees, but they stayed curled up. Manu winced as he adjusted the sail to make sure they stayed near the beach. A minor pain came from his chest where the crab's claw had just barely got him. Nice, bro. You found out how to put them to sleep. Shh! You better not wake them. Do you know how hard it is to hum that long? If you wake them, I will not forgive you. Manu put up his hands. Sorry, bro, he whispered. Once the others return, I will need an escort to look for water. With luck, extra jelly flowers. Sure, bro. But why do we need to bring the bees? Brennan looked at him like he was daft. Did the bees not save you on the beach, Manu? And the jelly? kept us being dragged under last night. Why don't you let me do the thinking? Keep your brain cells dedicated to hitting things. Okay, bro, no need to be rude. Manu watched him turn away and move toward the pile of Eatervine reserves. That Daddy Brennan has tucked in the unruly bees. Nothing can come between us, my sweet Tatiana. Brennan started to move some of the vines around. Something's not right about that, thought Manu. Manu winced as a dissonant wail echoed from the jungle. He suddenly had the urge to jump off the raft and swim away. What the? A closer, discordant tone sprang up from the plant pile. The bees were awake again. Damn it! Ow! I didn't mean it! Ow! Sorry! Brennan was frantically trying to calm them again. Manu just watched until he saw one of the bees go for him, and then he jumped into the water. Jacob heard the wail close by, and as the sound washed over him, he thought it sounded a bit scary, but it didn't even faze him as he continued forward. Lou was just behind him. He saw Jessica first, covered head to toe in muck, dragging Mac behind her. Mac? Dragging Matt behind her. Oh, thank God. Jacob, Ina's back there with the crabs. Jacob nodded. Lou, help Jessica. Then he rushed forward. In only a few seconds, he spotted Ina, also covered in muck, calmly walking towards him. She was swiping at her arms, trying to brush some of the mud off. Ina, are you okay? Jacob looked around, but didn't see any crabs nearby. Are crabs after you? They were. Ina smirked. But I handled it. There was a stranger noise just now. Was that you? Ina nodded. Sepia Naga skill. I made sure the human couldn't see me when I used it. Well, everybody heard it. Maybe we'll just blame it on the crabs. Hey, I didn't mean to put you at risk, by the way. I didn't think there would be anything that dangerous around. I'm happy you're okay. Good work keeping Jessica safe. Ina just looked at him and nodded. They started walking back. Did Matt look okay? No. The midday sun had finally pierced the clouds and was beating down on them, empowering the wind that blew with hot bursts, shifting the topmost sand granules around the beach. They had smoothed a section of the beach and set down Matt, who was still unconscious. The raft was slightly delayed arriving back on the beach due to a bee situation, but Manu had grabbed the first aid kit and swum it over. Oh, thank fucking God, finally. Jessica snatched the first aid kit and opened it quickly, setting it down next to Matt. She inspected some of the supplies and little sterile packages contained within, and then nodded to herself. Okay, Lou, Manu, Jacob, can any of you build a fire? I can, said Jacob. Jessica raised her eyebrows. Impressive. Do it. Lou, Manu, you are on guard duty. Ina, come rinse off with me, quick. Ina looked at Jacob, who just shrugged as he went to start collecting dry wood. Ina decided it would be good to get the mud off anyways. Jessica had already jumped into the water and cleaned off her shirt and arms and was coming back. Come on, hurry. I need your help with Matt. Ina gave her a confused look, but jogged into the water, shaking off the mud. She wants my help? Thought. She left the water significantly cleaner and jogged back to Jessica, who had carefully opened a few of the packages but hadn't taken out any of their contents yet. There was something shiny and metal in one. Ina's hands twitched and started to reach for it. Jessica slapped her hand. Inika recoiled and her eyebrows furrowed. Don't touch. They need to stay sterile as long as possible. Jessica saw her expression. Your hands are dirty. We want to keep everything clean as long as possible to avoid infection. We just got clean. Ina showed her clean-looking hands. Jessica laughed at her. Didn't you have biology in school? Water doesn't get rid of bacteria and microbes. Jessica thought for a moment. There's no soap here, but there are sterile gloves I can wear. That's why I need you. Once I put them on, I can't touch anything not sterile. You can. Ina became more focused on pretending to understand what the abyss Jessica was talking about, and her brief irritation evaporated. Sterile? School biology? Bacteria? Microbes? Every time I talk to this human, there's something new. Okay, yeah, right, biology. I must not have paid attention, just tell me what to do. Okay, sit next to me so you can prop up Matt's injured leg on your lap and off the beach. Jessica moved the supplies between them. Now, unwrap the bandage so we can see the wound. Ina unwrapped the blood-caked bandage. Matt's sweatpants had split open enough that the wound was clearly visible. It was caked with muck. Shit, we need a bucket of water to clear that off. She raised her voice. Guys, do we have a container? I need one filled with seawater, and we'll need another to boil water when Jacob gets the fire going. Manu and Lou just looked at her. We do not, Jessica. Damn it. She looked around the beach. Her eyes fell to the dead crab carapaces. What about one of the crab claws? Try to take the meat out and clean it in the ocean. See if it holds water. Lou and Manu both selected the claws from the crab Jacob had fought since it had the cleanest cuts. Their hands were soon covered in a greenish fluid as they pulled out the meat and then went to the ocean. Bro, it actually works. Manu walked back, looking into the top of the claw that sloshed with seawater. Jacob had returned with some wood and was setting up his spot to make the fire. Okay, Lou, that one has a wider opening, so should be better for the rags. Set that down near Jacob. Manu, bring yours over here. I want you to slowly tip it over so the water pours onto the wound to clear off the muck. Manu got close and leaned down low, tipping the crab claw forward. The seawater slowly poured out of the crab claw onto the wound. The muck that had dried became wet and then started to displace. Carried by the stream of water off Matt's leg, dripping onto the sand past the air gap Ina had created by propping the leg up. The thigh wound looked gnarly. A small canyon of uneven flesh, 3 inches at its widest, had been hewn by the crab's pincer. Its multiple inches of depth exposed layers of skin, fat, and then muscle. As the pouring water cleared the last of the muck, Jessica put up her hand. Ina found herself focusing on how the wound looked. So that's what's under the skin, she thought. She started taking mental notes on how it looked, thinking about how she would emulate an injury. Simulating the depth like that would be tricky, but she thought she could pull it off. Might not ever be useful, but you never knew. Okay, Manu. That's good. Ina, I had been prepping to suture it, but he lost too much skin and the wound is too wide. We're going to need to clean the wound and then pack the inside. Jessica moved some of the packages of sterile gauze and a small bottle of sterile saline closer to Ina. I'm going to put on these gloves and then you hand me those when I ask. Jessica carefully opened the packages of gloves. Using as close to proper sterile technique as possible, though to Ina it just looked like some kind of odd ritual. She was somewhat distracted by the gloves that seemed like a second layer of skin Jessica had slipped her hands into. Strange, she thought. Okay, now give the gauze first. That's the small paper packages. Try to open it so the gauze inside drops into my hand without you touching it. It took Ina a moment to figure out how the package separated at the corner, but then she was peeling it back and the gauze dropped out into Jessica's hand. So that's what the gauze is. Looks a bit like a sponge, thought. Okay, now the saline, that's the bottle. Open it and pour some onto the gauze. Ina did so. Awesome. Good job. Ina felt her cheeks flush. She nodded. It's a good thing he's out. This would hurt like a bitch. Jessica got to work. Celeste lay in the council holding cell staring at the ceiling. A clenched hand trembled with fury as his eyes bore a hole into the basalt rock. He grinded his teeth. After he had yelled at the guards to get his mother, he had suddenly found himself unable to speak. So his mind raged. They are wrong. They would rather side with a human than one of their own. They can't deny my blood oath. I swear I will not rest until I've slain that human and avenged Bagrant. I will slay the human and avenge Bagrant. I will slay the human and avenge Bagrant. He kept shouting the words in his mind until exhaustion from the last 2 days caught up with him and he passed out. Achievement: Blood Oath. Class: Oathkeeper obtained. Oath: Vengeance of the Fallen. Oathkeeper level 1. Skill: Endurance. Oathbound obtained. He awoke to the guards opening the